Geshe di diresha temba nyesha koro je injinalia mindfulness and lasting happiness ya diresha tinda tambo Geshe la ngodo mashu kong ya nidu kashe shubina samsta tanda nadu nima ni ring liya tongdo tsu je da chapsi da ganji tol ya labo mabu shubu nang bre hago du tarang ini chikarsure rikshung Tibetan culture flourishing in Tibet siya so dinde da dili ya diwa di gandes re siya dinde chung sung tarang ya chikarsure dingsang ki technology dindu ane nga du pechu tang ya tang dinde ki mabu shuka na so dinde inbe chani da to chisho di karsina Pepe rikshung sina kares ya dinga du ngoshima di kye chimbo resang du tumbo what is Tibetan culture di kawa shayor siya in dingna shingi nga du tabzu di mutu ni Pepe ki tenda masay bodu tabzu jayal ya ta kanje chagyen jamara mabuchita kanna muna shiri di tole ya pina ta technology pechu tanya sawochi yani mena technology di nga du mi technology pechu tani ratu lega tutuyachi re technology ngadu technology ki karso ta yo slave to shaya ni dure ta den kamyo mu jung re sam den kamyo chung inda dinda de ngadu kalom nange di Geshe Lhakdor la re mangche ji peje mangche sene changme king re sam ka Geshe Lhakdor la tanda ngadu dramsala ta 경험체 로몽병에 다 간제 전준날이야 rikshung sungjob 지하기 자기 찍날이야 벽 변조 간 두스첸 투낭브레 디 변조 간기 녜덤버레 다이렉터 딩엘이야 애니 게셰라 경험체기 숭주나네 로모부시우치다 숭주나제 담링 가스칼이야 군두 집주나베가 렌자 슈제제 애니 숭주나제제 두스나요레 다드니 가서데 게셰라 벽이 릴럼 칸네 드람슬라 rilem kane dustona tene Geshe tana mure ta number 3 kemra disa Geshe di kasangondo dingsang gi PhD gi equivalent of chaderwa dije international gi nyamjong shirayore shenge tsolya ene chigi nangju modo shyalia halebe gi ta ganje khewa ene chu da ngadu nangju di ma godo bealia ene chi god debo lelabo 상회 신야기 돌야 아니 된대기 숨긴기다 게실라 차대요레 딘베차네 베나 아리레 유럽레 우루스레 오스트레일리아레 사자 뭐부 쉬우질이야 아니 쉔게 돌야 베베 낭주 먼저 낭용 제제 다 간제 할레베기 다 간제 뉴버텀 돌 깔나긴 차대요레 쉬고 니다 당아도 고디 소중원에 베베기 직거스레 rikshung 나네스네 다 베베 rikshung디 나고상 게베 최 실샤베 토네 임베차네 이니 직거스레 rikshung기 차셰 다 나고상 게베기 차셰 다 베나 최기 닝부디 다 토체셔드 가스나 이니 벽에 날라야 이니 템바 녀샤 다 인치날 mindfulness and lasting happiness that be 벤차샤나 딩사 담링나래 양아도 낭베기 추도 빼면 뭐보여리 디날 만체지기다 곰겨야 meditation and mindfulness said be 할레베기다 도난지세기 주시차되어레 딘베차네 nga 두두무 사모고 토네 이 게실라기 차도 체계를이야 두스체니마 콜롬나야다 이 디젤라 차도 체계를이야 이 주어들이 두스 슈에니스 중에 다 단다데 추즈 나다 까마십 생아 차스 딘다 이니 두드 까마십 생아리야도 저버지기 이니 게실라 차도 체계를마 콜롬나로나 슈기 투제나 게실라
그 반대 시종당 에네 친대 중진 넘버 수업에 리지 넘버 엔데페베 슈는 넘버 소 엔제 고급 중어디 가보시부 중 제상 슝네 딘데 코디 셰바딜라 제수이랑 당가주 슈에이 가인스나 간주 남주 슈누디 개컵 기 마옹베 뉴도브레 세기어와 다 뉴톱 상마데 좀 되었다. 디지디 ngarange pe na mise nyamnyu nang le chewa ine chik ne tharingbo de ne keje he de wa mai ba de nyamdu zom ne keje he ne kyonsang yu ne karina chik che ne roide hibuji kechen bore do wa heyon chik le chik pe na kechen bo hibuji inza number son je pe gaw chung tuji che se yi 제가 당에 계제시 주시디 디지당 다 템바니에 워샤가 시디 직전에 디 주시디 레라오 지그레 디지성도 상마 칼랍디기 요러와 직전에 각보지레디 나와 카시 지히에나 사 시에마사리 주시 지그레 다이난 것도 뒤절 비에뱅에게 디지 결혼서다 야 쪽라에 서로 지그러와 된신 카시 중에 히에네 계치교 소소 섬로당에 레샤 망체지 제둥에 당부 남바서 남중아 아메리카레 러시아레 사자 망골다 직해가 도가 지기요레 헤버가랑에 당부 다가라랑에 대바 가르당 비어서나 현주 상말에 디기 고도에 스티기요 계제디 드린 남바서레 디티에 디기 고고 요겐 상만 락바장로나 그봐 남바 상마 디기 도도에 다 디기 도에나 락바장고르다. So my first question is, do you all want happiness? That's what I'm asking. Do you all want happiness? Be honest. 제가 바제 딱 같이 락바장 나마잖아. 디지다 구그러와. 구메 동도시는 페요 말에. 다 디지 구게 아메리카 다 러시아도 사자 망골 dit던 상마기 단데 지나서 나시 헤지테이션 지금도 상마 장고도 락바 디지 고도 세도 아니 게 대바니마 주단 거요 다 지나서 디지 고도 세도 디지 니마 가세 고도 세요 대바니와데 대바데. So my second question was, normally I ask people, it's clear that you want happiness. For how many days you want happiness? That's my second question. So when I ask this question, normally people don't answer, they laugh or smile. And by that they are also saying, as long as possible. Dire mareda. Diji gudo sigre. Diji de katse tup katse yun ring ring. Ta tenji diji gudo sigore. Ta di lab sabe jela chik chana songtu dela dewa yujire. Tenji diji gudo lab sabe jela signature duyo. I'm not saying it, you are saying it. Please put your signature saying that you want long-lasting happiness. Nge de kechembo thongdo, karase nge thigoye de ta tenshik sorbo jik chaoso de kechembo hibuji. Nganzo de samlo khorguyo mare namju, do sdoshak yor mise. Rwa. Ta thewa de tang ne tenji diji gugdo se de migi onyo she ne chanso lenja guyo mare, so samlo tang de gugdo se gorwa. Di ha kogor ta mise na tenji diji guyo wate. Ta tenji diji gugdo se di you're asking for something. That tenji diji gugdo lamna laso lamna yungumarwa. Just tenji diji guguyo na tenji diji de ta tiba di jema de karche tenji diji de kane yungures. Rang chilo ne yungure, rang nalo ne yungures. Nge de tiba de tangiyo. Lungba mangol nge tiba de tangi. Very interestingly, when you ask this question, whether that long-lasting happiness that you aspire will come from outside or from within yourself. Very interestingly, whether you're a believer or non-believer, normally people say from inside. Labgdo wadi. That thing adun gocho gudo. The re dharan re. If you want long-lasting happiness, that thing sound the tumbing keje jihe na tang inji tangma inji jab digdo. That is jab shana chikchina kodea yona. Tuzo mangpo meza. So I tell people, if you want that long-lasting happiness, let us focus more on rearranging the internals, not the externals. That's one very important point. Most of the time, especially in the so-called developed countries, people spend so much time rearranging the externals. You marry somebody, and this wife, this husband doesn't work, then you think, okay, change it. This is true. I'm raising this kind of point so that you will be clearly able to understand. Then they get the second wife, thinking that the first wife didn't work, this definitely will work. That also didn't work, then go for the third one. So in this way, you keep on changing your husband, changing your wife, changing your car, changing your house, thinking that by changing and rearranging the externals, you are going to get the long-lasting happiness. My dear friends, that has never worked and never will work. So therefore, the long-lasting happiness has to come from within oneself. Within oneself means, like for example, let me give another example. For example, this heavy rain that you see here in Dharamsala. It's but a natural thing. So when you experience this heavy rain, there are two ways of looking at it. One, you start cursing the rain. Damn this the rain, Dharamsala, non-stop. We are coming for Dharamsala for the first time and not even able to enjoy. You know what? Just by complaining and being miserable, will the rain stop? Instead of that, okay, I'm able to enjoy the monsoon in Dharamsala, take the positive side. You will be happier. The same situation, same event, because of your process of seeing things, will make a huge difference. These are just small examples that I'm giving. Another example that I give is, in terms of external appliances, like gadgets, we are very good in updating. iPhone 4, old, go for 5, 6, 7, 8, now 9, 10, right? iPhone 10, keep on updating. Tell me, when was the last time when you updated yourself? The problem is, because when we talk about mind, it is a non-physical, colorless, shapeless entity. And human beings have this tendency to take into consideration of only what you can see, what you can touch, what you can hear, and forget the rest. La yomare, lu yomare, dungde yomare, rwa, matonga sangwa yomare me shakcha chene. Much of the problem that you see today in the world is a clear indication of starvation of the mind. Starvation, I'm saying. I use the word updating the mind. Similarly, I can use the word starvation of the mind. For our body, how many times you feed your body? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then in between Kit Kat, whatever, so many things, right? But for the mind, what kind of food you are giving? Be honest. Nothing. That's why in terms of the whole education system, it is important to have a clear understanding that education is not just literacy. It's not being able to read, write, and do a mathematical calculation. It's for human flourishment. And that human flourishment will come by understanding the way things are, understanding the nature, understanding the reality, and adapting your mind, accepting that mind, changing your mind in accordance with that reality. So that's why you hear in the Buddhist philosophy constantly the teachings or impermanence, suffering, interdependent origination, emptiness, and so forth, which may be, at a first glance you think, oh, what are these? They are so difficult, But they're nothing but talking about the reality. Impermanence is not made by Buddha. It is the way things are. Things are changing. So therefore, when we talk about getting happiness or long-lasting happiness, we are talking about how can we get happiness from the changing world, the changing situations. How can we get happiness from uncertain situations, uncertain world? Everything is changing. And that understanding of impermanence or, the fleeting reality or uncertainty is so important. That is why in Buddhism, you are encouraged to think about these realities of interconnected reality. You cannot survive. Not only your dependence on others, but look at your own psychophysical aggregate. Each part of your body is dependent on the other parts. So therefore, there is a holistic process of dealing with all the problems, sickness or your attitude and so many things. It's not like in the West, where there is what we call a specialization. The so-called specialization has many advantages also, but many demerits also. Specialization means knowing everything about, trying to know everything about something and at the end you know nothing. Specialization. You focus on small part. If there is a problem with the heart, just treat the heart, not knowing its connection with the rest of the body. So in Buddhism, whether it's the Buddhist philosophy or the medicine, there is a holistic approach. So similarly, in our process of dealing with our sufferings, our problems, our difficulties, your mental outlook, your perspective is extremely, extremely important. This reminds me of a beautiful teaching by one Buddhist master who says, there is nobody who will catch hold of your hand and throw you into heaven. If there is one, just give me the name. Similarly, there is nobody who will catch hold of your leg and drag you into hell. Your happiness, your peace, your suffering is in your hand. Therefore, do not cheat yourself. Look at this. Of course, you will say, who is there who will cheat himself or herself? But because of not doing what we should be doing, we are cheating ourselves all the time. That's the meaning of cheating. Right? So therefore, your mental perspective, in accordance with the reality, is extremely, extremely crucial. Because at the end of the day, in the true sense of the term, nobody can help you. This is the bitter truth. Your relatives, your friends, you may have very good, parents or relatives and so forth. How much they can do for you? For example, during this visit to Dharamsala, did you bring all your relatives with you? Did you bring all your wealth and money and property, everything with you? You cannot. Not only that, when you take a flight, say from Delhi to Dharamsala, you are allowed to carry only 15 kilos. And if you carry more than that, they say, Madam, sorry, excess baggage, you have to pay more. But the Buddha has been teaching this for a long time. He said, the things that you are collecting, right? Because of your desire, because of your greed, things you are collecting, these are all excess baggage. The Buddha said this a long time back. And nobody listened. Now the airlines are telling you. And you are not only following their, new rule, but you are also ready to pay all the excessive money, 300, 400 rupees per kilo or whatever, you see. That's the thing. If you don't pay attention to the reality, if you pretend that it is not existing, your being like pretending will not do away with that reality. Reality will stare right in your face, sooner or later. So therefore, this process of maintaining happiness individually, in terms of society, in terms of international, relationships, whatever, happiness is the most important thing that we have to have. And that has to be cultivated from within oneself by changing one's attitude, and there should be a kind of acceptance. Now, acceptance means, so that leads me to the practice of mindfulness or awareness. There are so many terms you can use: concentration, mindfulness, awareness, and so forth. Because we don't have much time, I can summarize it by saying what all these words, mindfulness, awareness, meditation, so forth, is saying is you pay attention to the reality with a non-judgmental mind, whatever it is. The problem arises as and when you judge others, and you want others dance at the tune of your order, your dictation. Just non-judgmental, accept as it is. Just as we observe the rain, similarly when we see people also, don't just judge them. Accept their reality, understand their reality. Then there will be conversation, proper conversation. Then there will be proper understanding. And also the benefit of mindfulness or awareness is, with mindfulness and awareness, when you are with yourself, you are calm, you are silent, then you are able to see many things in its true form. Then you see the uselessness of harming others, mistreating others, exploiting others. Because normally we don't think. Our mind is always running towards the external objects. And somebody said that in a day, more than 47% of our life remain totally distracted. There is a story of a Tibetan teacher who once asked his students, Are you meditating? Are you studying? The student said, yes, sir, I'm studying, I'm meditating. He said, don't tell lie. Don't tell lie. Because in the whole night, I saw you sleeping. In fact, half of our life we spend sleeping, right? Then in the day, you get distracted here and distracted there, including food and so many things. So when do you get time to do this meditation, to do this practice? We really don't spend much time. So therefore, it is really, really important, whatever you want to call it, meditation, mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't matter. What is important is pay attention to the reality, the situation as it is happening right now. Live now. Don't just exist, but live. There's a difference between existing and living. Most of us are existing but not living. So we must live. Live means enjoy the present moment. Like, for example, this gathering, this meeting, enjoy. It's a wonderful opportunity. So I normally tell people, today is cash, tomorrow is post-dated check. Okay, tomorrow, nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. Of course, we need to make certain plans, certain preparations, but the most important thing is if you pay attention to the now, future will be taken care of. By your presence, by your practice, by your living today, future will be taken care of. So that is basically mindfulness meditation. So therefore, to start with, people are asked to watch their breath. You see, it's so funny and so interesting, Now somebody has to tell you to look at yourself, to watch your breath, you see. It's really almost like a paradox. The right thing is you should be fully cognizant of what is happening in your body, in your mind, in your feeling, and of course in the rest of the phenomena also. But we are not. So that's why somebody has to tell you to meditate, to be mindful, to be aware, to be alert. And especially in today's world, people are so distracted by the things that is flooding in the market, Everybody says, they're all for distraction. And all the so-called facilities that you get today, mobile phone, iPhone, and so many things, these are also distractions. If you know how to use it properly, it is useful. I'm not trying to be cynical. But if you misuse it, this is the real source of distraction. Because I've seen many young people, pong, then you sit. Then you're sitting there, pong, again you sit. Spend your whole day going after this ping pong, So, if I'm crossing the limit, please. Okay. So, we go so much outside, nothing inside. So the inside, if you imagine your body as a house, nobody is taking care of this house. It is getting dusty, it is dilapidating, and the owner is going somewhere. Maybe in the market, in the shop, or wherever. The owner is away. Day and night, the owner is gone. So this house is full of, dust, cobwebs. That is the situation. If you look at the so-called modern facilities, like mobile phones are for connecting with other people, right? Then similarly, internet and all these are for connecting with other people. How would you connect yourself? Do you call yourself? Sometimes as a reminder, maybe. But normally you are silly if you just, there's a story. Now I'm not going to tell that story. So how would you connect to yourself? How would you know yourself? Through mindfulness, through awareness, through meditation. And if you start doing this a little bit, don't see it as a religious subject if you don't feel comfortable with that. If you start doing this, you will feel how happier you are, how alert you are, how cognizant you are. You will know so many things. So that's why these days I describe that one of the biggest modern problem is people don't know how to live with others and also don't know how to live alone. You see, this is the problem. If you don't know how to live alone, you should know how to live with others. If you don't know how to live with others, you should know how to live alone. In both of this area, we are not good. And I was surprised when some people came to me and said, Geshe, do you live alone? Yes, I live alone. And they asked me, Geshe, don't you feel lonely? I mean, the very strange things are happening in today's world. Really. So I told them, my dear friend, I have no time for loneliness. Really. And recently I was reading an article explaining about loneliness and solitude. Loneliness, people feel loneliness when they really don't know how to share love and affection and real friendship with other people. Even if they live in a big city, it's a pathetic situation, really. Imagine like a place like Delhi, which is now 20 million or something. In a city with 20 million population, there are a number of people who are suffering from loneliness. Whereas some of our Tibetan meditators who spend their whole life in the mountain are not suffering from loneliness. So from there also you can see much is to do with your mental approach, not so much about how many things you have, how many friends you have, how many, you mix with the, crowd or not. That's not the situation. It's your mind. It's your mind. Right? So that's why, whenever His Holiness gives a public talk, at the end of the talk, he normally says, okay, thank you very much. Be happy. Simba chibu chin de, sungudua. Pe masi kechimbo. Pe masi kechimbo. These days, the problem is people say when somebody is suffering, having problem, then they go to some teacher and then they'll say, oh, you are suffering, you have problem, do meditation. I don't think this is a very healthy one. Meditation must be done when your mind is happy, not when your mind is miserable. When your mind is suffering, miserable, how can you meditate? Very difficult. So not only meditation, anything that you want to, for Tibet or for your family or for yourself, unless you are happy, you will not be able to achieve anything. So therefore in Buddhism, when it explains the 6 perfections, out of which one is chundu, perseverance, effort. Perseverance or effort has been explained by saying perseverance means delighting in, doing virtuous practices, delighting in living a good life. Delighting, say, when you enjoy something, when you have that happiness in doing something, it's so easy to do anything. When your mind is like pulling back, reluctant, unwilling to do, your mind is not happy, even if you're surrounded by the best of the friends, best of the food, best of the facilities, you're not able to enjoy anything. That is our common experience. That's our common experience. So therefore, I really want to seize this opportunity to tell our young friends that as far as the process of gaining long-lasting happiness, not only for oneself, but to all mother sentient beings. In Buddhism, this is a beautiful phrase that we use, all mother sentient beings. And we should be really proud of it, in a positive sense, not in a negative sense. Because today in the world, the great so-called great leaders, thinkers, they talk about globalization, kolachigyur, as if this is a big thing. Kolachigyur labgyorwa. Kolachigyur is basically only for human beings. That also primarily for doing business, market. The phrase mother sentient being is nothing to do with doing business, nothing to do with marketing. It's for long-lasting happiness for all sentient beings, including the tiniest insects. So we, the Tibetans, are holder of that deep culture, whose essence is to maintain a holistic kind of harmonious coexistence of all sentient beings, and of course the environments. So before I forget, I'm really tempted to, I have so many things. Because I was so scared of giving this talk, I kept on reading and, I compiled like 40 pages in random, of course, not finalized. So I'm not touching that. I'm just speaking random so that it will be easier for you to understand. Now, what has been explained in Buddhism is very strongly supported through scientific findings. Like, for example, in the case of happiness, Like for example, if you develop greed, so I'm now talking about if you want happiness, what is the obstruction to happiness? The obstructive factor for happiness is negative emotions, like anger, jealousy, and countless negative emotions. Now, if you look at these negative emotions, their nature, how harmful and how destructive they are, you will find, number one, please remember this is very important. Number one, all these negative emotions are narrow-minded. Look at this. There's no holistic attitude, narrow-minded. If you, with desire, with attachment, even if you love somebody else, I love you only, no one else. How narrow-minded. What is taught in Buddhism is loving all sentient beings. Similarly, when you develop anger and hatred, then you pinpoint to just one person and will say, this person is the problem. He, she alone is the problem. If he, she is eliminated, there will be happiness. And His Holiness probably was the only person who highlighted this point when everybody was criticizing Saddam Hussein, saying that he is a dictator, he must be dethroned, he must be killed or whatever. Everybody was saying that. And His Holiness said, Saddam Hussein may be a dictator, but it's not fair to blame everything to him. Who supplied him the arms? So from the Buddhist perspective, and also it is the reality, things happen due to multiplicity of causes and conditions, to many causes, not just one single cause and condition. So if you are able to take into consideration the involvement of this multiplicity of causes and conditions, you will have a broader perspective. You will not keep on blaming just one, you see. And you also have played a part. Your suffering means you have also played. You presented yourself as a target, you see. So these negative emotions are narrow-minded. And these negative emotions, they don't have a solid foundation. The positive emotions, why you develop love, why you develop compassion, if somebody asks you the reason, you have 100,000 reasons to explain those, the importance of that. But if you are to explain why you are angry, there may not be much. There really may not be much. Of course, you will come up with some answer, but there will not be much. And especially when you are asked, is it, even if there are some reasons, and if you are pushed further and said, okay, there may be some justification for your anger, but is the anger solution? You will not be able to say that this is the solution. And also, in fact, if we are not like scrutinizing these factors, if we look carefully, we will be able to know that. For example, let me ask you a question. Is there anybody who right in the morning says, I want to get angry? Who makes a motivation saying that today I will get angry? No, because you have some inkling of idea or some sense that anger is not good. You have that idea. But somehow you go to work and meet different people, probably meet strange co-workers, and then you get angry, you might, pick up a little bit fight with that person. But at the end of the day, when you look back and see what has happened in the day, again, you will find nobody who will say that I fought with somebody, so I really enjoyed the day. Ruwa, so these things, I'm just giving you some hint. So now you need to do some homework. The homework is, please read His Holiness's books, Ethics for the New Millennium and Beyond Religion. They're all available in Dharamsala. And I recommended these books for many people. They said this was the best gift that I gave them. It will change your life. And now, because not many people are believing in religion, they think, without any study, they think, oh, religion is difficult, So His Holiness is saying secular ethics. Meaning that we all want long-lasting happiness, as we all agreed. And if you want a long-lasting happiness, it has to come from basic good human values like loving kindness, compassion, and so forth. So secular ethics is based on the concept that we must practice and adopt this positive emotion, cultivate these positive emotions and positive values, not because they are said by God or said by Buddha, but So normally this is called the secular ethics from bottom up, not top down. Top down means coming from God, coming from Buddha, coming from His Holiness. Not like that. Bottom up. That means if we use our common sense, it's better that you smile at me, I smile at you, rather than, pick a fight. Even in the course of, related to the Tibetan struggle, right in the beginning when we came into exile, everybody was talking about Tibetan freedom, Tibetan independence. Many of you may not know. And then gradually His Holiness, judging the situation, taking into consideration the whole spectrum, His Holiness, of course, in those stages, right at the beginning, His Holiness right away cannot say we don't want independence, we want to live with China. People will be shocked, you see. So His Holiness started saying, we must follow a path which will give happiness to the Tibetan people. Happiness. Then gradually He elaborated it, become more clear, the middle way and so forth. So I can hear whether you are talking about middle way or ranks and independence, whatever. What is the aim? What is the objective? The objective is to go back to Tibet. Okay, fine. Let us say it happens. Is there a guarantee that you will be happy if you are back in Tibet? So important thing is that we should nurture a group of younger generation, or we should, sustain a culture, or the culture which we already have, which is based on love, compassion, non-violence, and so forth, which is really the source for long-lasting happiness for everybody, individually, in terms of family, in terms of society, in terms of the whole country. And this is very true, very fitting in today's reality. In today's reality also, the real great thinkers, they are paying more attention to the soft power, not on the hard power. Only arrogant, ignorant, short-sighted dictators or other stupid leaders, they talk about guns, they talk about arms, but the real thinkers, they talk about soft power. Soft power means power of culture, civilization. Yesterday I was reading a book where it says, that was very interesting, where it also says that the objective of human beings is long-lasting happiness. And then he says, the reason is we are not here to, the main purpose of human being is not to do mathematical calculation. Of course, we need to learn all these things, but no, that is not the main purpose. These are facilitating factors. So therefore, now scientifically speaking, if you, as I said, if you develop these negative emotions, then the brain releases a substance which is called dopamine. And then you feel like, going for that again and again. Attachment increases, hatred increases, then you get addicted to it. Right? So these negative substances are released physically or in terms of brain also. So there are a lot of scientific findings which support what is being said in Buddhism, or what is being said based on common sense. So these are some points that I would like to, where are we, more or less? There's no end, so I'll stop here.
Now I would like to invite questions. We have 30 minutes. You can ask questions in English or in Tibetan.
Nga jidang ngarang namgyujin laga Quran being la ane psychologist. Tende kata tende kapsu tenda kishila sona shire jidang kyu semba wara kyu me wara jina ane mindful training chila na naman ra kichreral. Andi jidane kakbu chayudo ta so kande che ane chokshe diskom. Tende che dikdora jina mi shabatele pen kyapko marta ni chode ane kare shwe na ine ta tanda nga zo pheba imbara jine ane nga zo shene da mashene da profession di ane samgam rikpato la indu ane charnye mangboch du Koranso sembakyo mewache, dungache, tanda Gishila Songwanashi, loneliness, Pama Yone Menea, generation gap ki pazu jigla, and Kota Machoche, Kangai Mangbo Yo Tende, Ningaranzo Peba, Nangla, Chakle Nangshimba, Mizichidan Gajodan, Yakpo Yowa, Ine, Suso Samlokta, Pustok Tanere, Yamena, Chiloki, the boundary condition, lawore, circumstances, lawore, netang di sosoriki, Joale, Mangta Yunata, Karitoni, Badinata, Kandamanda, Kanga Mamboch Teche, Nazal Tuli do, Taine, Ane Narangi Kang, Shea Jura, only Western psychology, Jipoing, Ane Nacho this shingu in a diggers Mambo the shingi me nacho on the Geshe Gap Chedende. Ane Dindi Kapsu. Ta injil chilo migi nga zalena Quran rodang jiore ta dida dikdu du ina nganzu pepa pingsa ta nganzu gi tenda loze imba ta kangai tenda nga zala chu khile du ani holistic approach pheje tang wara jina cham la chidang machine haudu nganzu pe western jangjo technique de pheje tang die chu la chewara jina cham la ani ngarang chu du ta Kari middle chidanda ngarangi lengere ine susuki ani shewa di matsawa chera an kanga mangbuchi tigido ani kasi ta ngado sajala shawara china nganzo pebajido nana chalong che yowa che ine da tenda nedang di dynamic world ta kala inde na de du zamba kanga damanda titu an konsola ta nganzo ngoni professionally lapcha ye do impara china mind training chi Roma China Digmindu, young Pajo technique in so tended re, each in a Dogolana Digmindura, and a candido, Narang, Narangi, when the consola Chakrosh, Shueki, and the Lamdendo, Yona, Jidanta Ringbore data in a this Sumara in a Pembush, Sare, Catinche.
Soon chicken lola, but you must hijaba in say. Chitar nepa navala membe mene tembatar. Tihin sanje simjen la chisam sube chuten do se jore. Nadu nepa rachi nade yona ko nepa de nasa khari nagdu tani mente gore madogi go nagdu labde thogo nasa thagi ki mente na ping marwa. Chitar nepa nevala membe mene tembatars. Tihin sanje simjen la sanje chomde de chu mabo hibuji sungu yorde. Sungu yose na sangma sung hyag yomare. Tikin sanje simjen la jizam suebe chöden ko kaze saji ngochosare kaze saji pensare kaze saji sutubsare di tagora sigdoa chidu ta nganzo sangma la chi di chena sangma kange sangdo se di chidang khakore tagi segore yina ya pejana la keja chik dinde jore so chiri henji tuen sambo seji lega khanda khachana ke chejo de henda pena sambe samlu di gore segore there's really like a panacea. That altruism is really like panacea which will cure all kinds of diseases. Most of the problem that we experience is because of negative self-cherishing attitude. Most of the time we keep on harping and talking about I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. And that is very much discouraged in many of the Buddhist teachings, and saying this is the source of all kinds of problems, difficulties. And now it is scientifically proved by saying that people who make a lot of self-references, calling oneself I, me, and mine, they are prone to all kinds of illnesses, including heart attack. Why? As I said earlier, because this negative self-cherishing attitude, when you develop this, your whole focus becomes narrow. You develop a tunnel vision. And within that tunnel, narrow focus, even if there is a small problem, you tend to see it as if it is unsurmountable. Contrarily, if you maintain a more holistic perspective, yes, it is true, I have a problem, I have difficulty, but it's not just me suffering here. There's so many people who are suffering much more than me. Much more than me. If you compare that, oh, thank God, I'm lucky. I'm sick, I'm suffering, but comparing to those people, I'm really lucky. Think about those people who are caught between, in the war zone, caught between cross-firing, no medical facilities, no hospitals around. There are many places in the world today, like for example in certain places in Syria, Many places like that. So we are lucky. So therefore, I'm glad that you asked this question, To get that long-lasting happiness, one of the mindfulness practice that you need to see is how many times you are complaining, how many times you are comfortable and happy with your given life. Most of the time, we keep on complaining and aspiring what you don't have. If I have that, I will be happier. I don't have that, so I am the miserable fellow. Keep on complaining. So instead of that, count your blessing, count the good things. Now these days, the scientists, they say that being good is scientific. Being good is scientific because to become good, there are many things you can count. You can love some other people. You can have compassion. You can have patience. All these good things you can count. Anything that is countable can be treated as a science, you see. Right? So therefore, it is really, really important to lessen this focus just about oneself. It's not saying that you don't take care of yourself, but negatively focusing about yourself is very, very harmful, not only to your mind, but also to your body. So it's important to think more about others. Thinking about others will have a very strong liberating effect upon yourself. Right. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Geshe. And it has been really, really powerful and highly enlightening talk, and something that I always wanted to hear. And especially I like you talk about extra baggage that we carry on our travel. That's something I always do very often. And a lot of times I end up not using 40% of what I carry with me. So I think that this is basically due to lack of clarity in my understanding of the situation or the place that I go to. So how can I reduce my baggage, which is basically how can I concentrate on the most important parts of my work or the necessary clothes that I can carry so that I can have a minimum but more effective way.
When I use the word baggage, I'm not primarily talking about the external baggage. I'm primarily talking about the internal baggage. These internal negative emotions can be called useless baggage because when you have these negative emotions, it will completely weigh you down. You will lose your balance. You will lose your stability. For example, if I develop strong attachment to something, right now I'm sitting very comfortably here, but when I develop some attachment, I want this, I start moving to look at my feet, it's already, the balance is lost. Or if I want to have this mic, this mic is really good, I want to have it, and I grab it, look at my hand, it's not free now. You see? So this internal baggage, enemy number one, from today onwards, you count your internal negative emotions as your enemy number one. What is enemy by definition? Enemy is someone or somebody who harms you, who harms your relatives, who harms your country, who harms your wealth, who harms your name and fame. This negative emotions does all those. That's why Nagarjuna, in one of his beautiful texts, he says, Dawo silno devayi danye yundin jituji nusem ngembe chishikcha tene dagno dalame. Dawo silno devayi. If you want to overpower the enemy, Dawo silno devayi. Danye yundin jitu. You should raise yourself with knowledge, with education. Nusem ngembe chishikcha. What is use of harmful intention towards them? Because if you develop these negative emotions, tene dagno dalame. This will harm you, not the enemy. Amazing. Really. And then look at, of course, His Holiness is always the best example. His Holiness always says, I do everything possible for my people, for my country. Then I sleep comfortably, without worry, without anxiety. Because unnecessary anxiety, unnecessary worry, unnecessary negative emotions will torture you, not the enemy. Like, for example, right here, today, we can say all the nasty things about China and then bang the table and get angry. We are suffering already here. Those who we want to harm, they may be enjoying nice time, watching a movie, sipping cup of coffee, have no idea what is happening here. Really, you become the victim number one. So don't victimize yourself. If you want to be happy, if you want to be peaceful, I suppose all your educations and things that you're doing are targeted towards flourishment, long-lasting happiness. Right? If that is truly your goal, then the most important thing is distance yourself from these destructive negative emotions. Remove these internal baggages. And then from there we can also talk about external baggage. External baggage also based on my own experience. It's really, really not much use just collecting everything that is available in the market. They will all become junk in your own room. I have seen people living in very small room and then tempted to, they also may not have much big salary, but whatever is in the market, they keep on buying without thinking. And once you go to the market, the trap is already there. They'll say, buy one, one free. Right? And then the packaging, inside the juice may be like 1 year old or 6 months old, at least I guarantee that. But the outside wrapping is so beautiful, and stupid as we are, because we always go for appearances, have no time to wait for the reality, so we get entrapped. So another very important point, before I forget, I must mention is, don't just run after appearances. Wait and see the reality. There is a big gap between appearance and reality. Wait for the reality of interdependent origination, the reality of death, the reality of impermanence. Now, for example, in the case of death, people might think, why in Buddhism they talk so much about impermanence, death? One, we have to talk because that is the reality. Second, if you talk about death, impermanence, it will change your life. If you really think about it, it will change your life. Talking about Buddha, talking about enlightenment, talking about God is comfortable, but it may not change your life because it will not directly impact you. But if you really think about your own death, the imminence of death, that will jolt you. Then you will have a quantum leap. There will be a quantum leap, I'm telling you. And the benefit is instant benefit. For example, if I'm somebody who is thinking, or let us say there's a very elderly person, like 95 years old, lying on this platform, not only 95 years old, but very sick, wounds all over the body. If somebody is like that is here, will you develop attachment? Will anybody come forward and say, I want to marry this person? Will anybody? No. Because you know the reality now. Or will you develop strong hatred? This ugly old man, Hatred will also be not there. Anger will also be not there. What you will most likely to develop is a little bit of concern, care, affection. Poor man, poor old man, poor old woman, whatever. So similarly, if you are able to understand the reality of everybody, we are all going to become sick, we are all going to get problems in our life. The only thing that is left is you don't need any introduction from anybody. You know who they are. Whoever they are. Famous, not famous. Whoever they are all going to die. They are all going to become sick. They are all going to have problems in life. So the only alternative left is to work together, to help each other, to make this short journey, wonderful journey, happy life, starting from today. That's the natural consequence of such contemplation, you see. So it's really like life-changing. So therefore you need to do a lot of mental training and thinking about these realities. But if you, without thinking, if you suddenly try to change and become like Milarepa, it will not work. And there's a story of somebody who was so, encouraged by Milarepa's way of life, and on the spot he decided, I'll do like Milarepa. He threw all his belongings. But his mind was not ready. So then he started suffering. Then he said, this Milarepa, not only he became a beggar, he also turned me into a beggar. So when your mind is not ready, you just can't just jump into something, But that's why, in Buddhism, this is a very important teaching for happiness, for mindfulness, whatever you talk about it. Dikpa chiyang mechashin, gewa phusum so wache, rang semne yongsu de dine sang yeten bai. Dikpa chiyang meja, do not do, dikpa thamche mechashin sigre chidang jana. Do not do anything that is negative. First line. This is from the Buddha Sutra. Do not do anything that is negative. Do everything, do well, everything that is positive. The third line is interesting. Completely train your mind. This is my teaching. This summarizes beautifully the complete teaching of the Buddha. So do not do anything negative. Means basically, whichever country you are, whichever place you are, with whoever you are associating, do not do anything that directly, indirectly harms others. And do everything that is positive means, wherever you are, with whomever you are going, do not do anything that is directly, indirectly, do everything that is directly, indirectly helping that person. Now, to do that, it's not easy. Completely train your mind. You need to study how these negative emotions are functioning, how these positive emotions are beneficial. Through that training, then you will develop this mindfulness, awareness. So meditation basically is not sitting in a corner, closing your eye. Meditation is hitting the headlines of New York Times and so forth these days, and everybody. Now meditation has also become a property of the five-star hotel owners. We have no shortage of people who are suffering, who are crazy, so they have to have a place to go. And so meditations are now constantly held in different places, including five-star hotels. And if you see who are coming there, people who are not very happy, who don't know how to live their life, they come there, give all their money, thinking that this will solve the problem, you see. That's why the psychotherapists are booming in Western countries, you see. I mean, look at this. You work like a donkey and earn money and make your mind unhappy, then you pay all that money to a psychotherapist. To save money, practice mindfulness. I mean, we have to come down to the reality, you see. Really, extremely, extremely important. This mind training is so important. Like if people are honest, happy and harmonious, there will be no corruption in the government. There will be no exploitation. That country will flourish like anything, you see. So therefore, the training of the mind is really, really the key. Really, really the key. Yeah.
Just like Geshe, I need to continue. Tangbudi dishui and Geshe like Sungela Tandangansu, Kaduni life Nangola that Kangi challenge Kariteone, we should look at it from a positive outlook. Jik Tatang Yapuchini Tone Tagwe the Ketchambure Sungsra. Any the Kesare, Taring, Gansu, any the Ketchamanguchore, France with Tamlin Nani Tunzoine, Sungore, Dinashing Shogate, and the Gedulagi Sungsra. And so, Pebado Chashana, any Tanda efficient human capital, won't any build chair, Ketchambu, Ninga Chadires, Dichik Sungsra. And the Demboy raised them to any Kassing on to me, Susu, any Mizena, Kangi, Karitegu, any Deba Kangi Tegu de la positive outlook can get until a Dolen Cheg, Tapchi, any Matangwena, any we are all components of Tibet and Nganzugi, the Kari Chigudi, nation building Kala, any that contribute Chadora ultimately. Only in the Tanganzugi efficient human capital build Chaya, Geshe any positive outlook that were led, this contradict to Chaim in the West, wanted to share. Niwa the Geshe like this songs and the Buddhism as a soft power. The Jambe Nuto only ring on to Pebala any Nangche de any Jambe Nuto the lecture you name any chadder. Yimba in it Tinsa Gana Nanglola Gantu Sangma Kinsera casting Tangi and it's on the Chugu de Sodizamba tanda tabju jitu United Front Work Department ki any kinzishon ba tanda Zhang Yingzhong Huangi Karisong lana hamshe jeje any Nangshui Buddhism was born in China land Huangi and the hamshe chera Dinanshingi any Huanzu lakchik pejutangi tabju chede or the jambe nuto Dinash tanga zu peme zu yanjene kunzu ki da pejutangi tabju chido 냠도 아니 단다 변낭로 레네레다 가르다 베베 라마 이제 가시지게 요래 가시기 단다 낭주디 페주 로과당체 미망불라 아니 고고 루지체 이제 니츠 중교데 요래 인데 인데 참바 아니 게실라기 단다 아니 경 림부토니 삼다와다 아니 부디즘 as a soft power di 아니 디기 다 칼로르 뉴슈프도디 마다 직차기 nen가도 게 통교나 온디초이
다처럼게 대화 당부대 랜들라 킹의 장주 람도 규르세죠래 which means transforming misfortune into the path practice. If you are somebody who is able to transform misfortune into the positive practice, into the positive path, there will be no obstacle which you cannot face. So these days, some of the scientists and psychologists, they are also, not only Buddhism, they are also saying that don't just talk about happiness all the time, talk about pain, talk about difficulties, and you will really shine out if you are prepared to face the pain, face the suffering, face the challenges. In my case also, sometimes I prefer using the word challenges than suffering. When you use the word suffering, people get a little bit mesmerized. But when you say challenges, face the challenges. Give me one example of a great leader who reached that stage without facing challenges, without facing difficulties. So therefore in Buddhism also it says suffering is introduction to happiness. Suffering is introduction to happiness. And therefore some of the Buddhist teachers, they say, when they hear the word suffering, they say as if they're completely oblivious of that. They say, what? What is suffering? Meaning, the thing that you call as obstacles, the thing that you call as challenges, the thing that you call as sufferings is how you see that. Like for example, if tomorrow, if there's a picnic for this group here, go out into the forest, have a picnic. You're all very happy. Okay, now we've been sitting and talking for so long, let us go into the wild and enjoy. And suddenly if there's a hailstorm, still you will be singing and dancing in the hailstorm. That hailstorm is a suffering, it's a problem, it's a difficulty, it's an obstacle, it's a challenge. But your mind is ready, therefore you don't bother about it, you see. When your mind is not ready, as I already mentioned, even if you are surrounded by the best of the facilities, you will not be able to enjoy it. So it's very much related to the mind. And with regard to your second question, your question reminded me a statement made by somebody who said, don't try to speak to the person who always keeps on lying. So our friend on the other side, they are scholar and have specialized in concocting the story, telling the lie, they're going to recognize His Holiness Dalai Lama's reincarnation there. But truth is truth. Gold is gold. It will shine out. So what is important is, it's up to us whether we are able to really preserve that authentic culture, authentic religion. It's not only China. Among the so-called Buddhist practitioners, even among the Tibetan Buddhists, there may be people who misuse it. That is possible. It's not just with the religion, with anything, people misuse it. When they're selfish, ignorant, short-sighted, they misuse it. That is not the justification to give up the bigger picture. So it is up to us to preserve that authentic, good religious practice. That's why it's important for all of you to know, especially the lay people, not become completely dependent on the monks and nuns, you see. You study the Dharma. Then if somebody is misusing it, you will be able to pinpoint, this is wrong, because this is what is said in the text. If you have no idea, then they'll tell all the stories and you have to listen, you see. That's how physics separated from philosophy. You know that story? The Western philosophy, originally there was no physics or no science separate from Western philosophy. And philosophy has a lot of metaphysical concepts. So therefore some of the thinkers, they said, the metaphysical realities may be there, maybe not there, but it's really difficult to comprehend. So let us forget that metaphysical part, take the matter out, think about the physics, the reality. That's how it came into being, you see. So therefore, for us also, it's important really to accept the reality, to understand the reality, how the teachings of Buddhism is important, relevant in our life. Not just believing in somebody, not just thinking that if you pray to somebody, all your problems will be gone. You know, if you have a problem, just do a divination, and that the one who does the divination will tell everything correct and your problems. These are almost like, to some extent, almost like cultural clippings in many cases. So let us get the gist, the heart of the Buddha's teaching, which is combination of head and heart. What is said in Buddhism is compassion and wisdom. Wisdom that sees the reality, and a compassion that feels for the other people who are suffering. So for this I use the word head and heart. So wisdom is, you must be a knowledgeable person, you must be an educated person. Even if you're educated, but if you don't have the heart, you don't have the love, you don't have compassion, it will not be holistic. So it must be there. And especially qualities like loving kindness, compassion are so important. In one of the sutra, the Buddha himself has clearly said, if you have one quality in the palm of your hand, you have all the qualities in the palm of your hand. And what is that? Compassion. Love. Love minimizes fault. When you really have love for people, you will keep on highlighting their good points, not the bad points. When you don't have the love, you keep on highlighting the faults of other people. I have always wondered how the family, the members of the family, they live together. Members of family are all ordinary people. They are not necessarily enlightened, you see. But how do they manage to remain so cohesive? Not because they have no shortcoming, no fault, but because there is a predominant presence of love and affection. That's how the families survive. Similarly, in the society, in the bigger circle, in the nation, in the international arena, it's important to have the love. And love is a quality which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. And love is not how many times you touch each other, but how many times you mentally reach each other, care for other people. So these are extremely, extremely important. So don't worry about others misusing it. We should not misuse it. We should uphold the genuine, correct teaching. Right?
Hello. Geshe.
Juju sims konda danda tiwa tat lingme danda Geshe lagi danda nangju dang modu sia di danda tabe ngadu nangju shiwoji ting sabo kya chimbo re de tat dudu tungtung chinalia ningdu ngad sangme gi gotuya ta eni susu mizenalia eni nyangda nyongshimbe gi pedun shanang jeje dima sungbalaya eni tuche ngad sangme gi sabchuni tuche na shugi dana shingi eni tiwa nange zuge tiwa ta ke chimudina diliye kalyan nangba jeje tuche na shugi di toliya ya chigi gasure Geshe ladan suzi kan shugure ya tiwa dende yobina sungro na shugi ta di cheliya suzi re suzi cheliya chudu gebe toliya namba sangma de soga nalaya zom naro na diliya nga zuge longye chi de jimbe shugo di longye di mingli karsana a place in the sun Tibet in stories from exile se dire chudu gebaliya suzi chu tube cheliya de dinaliya longye se ka pero na shugi tuje na
Seta ji shucho